HIJKLMNOP QRSTUVWX1Z. Do you know your ABC of how to tell a story? Tell me more, tell me now. If you don't know, then let me tell you how. Hi, this is Rituparna Ghosh, and you're watching ABC of Storytelling, where every week I share tips, tricks, techniques, and secrets from my story bag, helping you tell better stories to children. This week we are on the letter T, and like always, we have quite a few T's in our story bag, so let's get started. The first T that we have is for parents out there, and it's T for take turns. Yes, take turns to tell stories to each other. I'm sure you're reading stories with your child every day. It's a ritual in your home by already. If it hasn't, then it's a good time to start. So start telling stories to each other every day. And while you're reading stories, perhaps it's a very good idea to stop, to let your child continue, or let your child take the story ahead. Take turns to tell a similar story. Take turns to tell a new story. Because sometimes when listening to a story, the child's imagination is going wild. They've already started imagining what could happen next. So it's a good idea to give the onus of storytelling to the child. At the same time, there's a word of caution: don't force children into telling stories too early in their life. Because I feel that when the child is growing up, at least in the first 5 or 6 years, 7 years, or perhaps even by the time the child turns 8, let the child soak in stories. Let him or her understand what stories are, how they are structured, what happens, what's a regular recurring theme, plot, or let's say structure of a story. So by the time they have absorbed enough stories, by the time they have got used to thinking like a story, it's a great time then to perhaps pause, or it's a great time then to shift the onus of storytelling to them. But at home, take turns. Give them small opportunities where they can tell stories and they can complete a story. So it's a great exercise. Again, a fun activity that you and your kid could go look forward to. We do it all the time, and it's something that really, gets us to flex our story bones. First, of course, with all the storytelling and the reading that we do together, I try to tickle their story bones, try to bring out the storyteller in them in little spots, in little opportunities, and then, of course, share the whole experience of handing over the mantle of telling a story at home in smaller opportunities, in small segments, taking turns to tell story to each other. So that's taking turns. The second T that I have is for teachers, and it is T for teach. Of course, we do a lot of teacher training at Your Story Bag, and we visit a lot of schools, and we are constantly in conversation with school leaders, with school teachers, and there's while there is a huge group of schools and school teachers and school leaders who are convinced about the power of stories in a classroom, there are also so many others who are very reluctant to use stories in the classroom, or especially to teach. One, because of course they feel that telling a story takes away a lot of their time. Uh, and the other is that they don't have the enough resources to find the right story for the right topic that they're going to teach. For example, if it is a story about, let's say, seeds, and how seeds grow, and how seeds travel from one point to the other, and how seeds are carried by animals, by air, by water. So if they're learning about plants and seeds and germination, parts of a plant, there are lots of stories that one can tell. But finding the right story for the right concept, or right part of the concept, is very, very critical. I understand that, and that's where Your Story Bag comes in. We help schools create stories which fit into the concepts so that children can understand them. Remember, a story does not really take over from the curriculum, so there's no way that you cannot teach and only tell a story. Well, a story creates the foundation with which you can go ahead and explore the topic, explore the concept in a far larger way. So look at a story as an example, look at a story as something which gets the children really hooked on to the concept that you're trying to introduce in the classroom. There's a huge possibility of using stories in the classroom, and Your Story Bag is very committed to creating stories which fit into the curriculum and help create willing learners. So if you're interested in understanding how you can teach through stories, do get in touch with us. All right. The third T that we have is for storytellers out there, and it is T for Tricks. Yes, you need your tricks because anything can happen in a storytelling session when you are there live. You may forget your story. Your children, the audience may not, may have heard the story before, or they may not be interested, plain and simple. Or there could be some kind of a disruption because of which they are suddenly very agitated, or they're very loud, or they are very, got very excited, and you are finding it very difficult for to settle down the kids. um, what are those tricks? How will you exercise them? This is something that totally depends on you. It totally depends on the command that you have over your session, the confidence that you have. Are you scared of your audience? I think you should never be scared of your audience. Take them into your confidence and try out something outrageous. Sometimes it could be a song, it could be an action, it could be a technique of getting the children to come and join you in doing a particular action. It could also be something that you teach them, or rather something that you introduce before a session begins. So for example, when I go to some schools and I see that, in my first introduction, when I'm just having a little chat with them, I realize that they're very excited about this whole session. So I give them a certain ground rules. One of them is, of course, to zip the lip, zoop, and then I say open your ears, and then I say open your eyes wide because you have to watch me everything that I do and say. And then I say open your heads and imagine the places that I'm taking you to, imagine the characters that I'm going to introduce you to. So this a simple little act like this really gets them to, oh, there's something different which is going to happen. And if I see that children have started talking, and sometimes they really do, so and I cannot let them distract the others or let them distract me, so I do stop and said, oh, what happened to the zips, the lips that we zipped? Zoop, they've opened up, so let's zip them back. So these are little tricks that you could try. And but again, like I said, tricks are very individual things which change from storyteller to storyteller. And you have to find your own tricks, and that's what makes you very exciting for your audience. So go ahead and try these tips, and I hope you enjoyed the video this week, and you're going to be back next week. The series is coming to an end, but don't let those emails and messages stop. We love communicating with you. We love connecting with you. We've been getting a lot of messages and emails and even WhatsApp from a lot of aspiring storytellers or you new beginning storytellers from across the country who've been writing to us and sharing how much they've loved this series and how much they're learning from it. So thank you so much once again for making this series such a success, and see you next week. Until then, happy storytelling.